So this is looking at how to use a solubility table. So in front of here in the screen, this is a solubility table that tells you when you're mixing the ions, are you going to get a precipitate, an insoluble solid, or are you going to get just a soluble? That means that you're not going to get a precipitate. So you can see that on this side, this is the negative ions, and here is these are your positive ions. Let me just kind of change my pen. And you can see that alkaline ions, when it's mixed with anything negative, essentially everything's going to be soluble. So whenever you mix alkali ions with anything else, it's going to be soluble. And then you can go down this list until you see something like here for chloride, bromine, and iodide. When you mix with silver, lead, mercury, and all of these ones, you're going to get a low solubility. That means that you're going to get a precipitate. So how is this useful? This is very useful for your lab because you're going to create a solubility table with the ions that you have in your solutions with these spot plates. And what you're going to do is, excuse me, you're going to take some of them from each, or take drops from your solution, and you're going to mix them with other solutions, other test tubes, and you're going to see that did you get a precipitate or did you not get a precipitate. And you might want to highlight all the ones that did get a precipitate and sort of iron out or pinpoint or narrow it down to what ions you have based on this solubility table. So this is a very important solubility table to know and to have. And how we solve this without doing a laboratory is that sometimes you might even get a question something like this. You have a solution that contains silver ions, barium ions, and nickel ions. So if we were to look at my beaker, if we were to have a solution of this, we would have silver, you have barium, and you have nickel. And you need to add something in here to precipitate these three out in order. So what could you add? So a good way of looking at this is that let's make a table, right? Let's build a table of all these three ions and see what ions we can add to precipitate these ones out. So here's my sort of table here. And let's go back to the solubility table here. I have silver ion that I need to precipitate. I have barium and I have nickel. So then when we're looking at this, just double checking, which of these negative ions can I put in that would just precipitate one of these ions out? So can I put nitrate? Well, no, because it's all soluble. Acetate could work because if you look at this, acetate is soluble with everything except silver. So I could technically put acetate here, CHCO negative, and mix in a solution with acetate, and this would cause precipitate, not PPP, but PPT, and then have the other ones still stay in solution. So when I put this one in the solution, right, if I put acetate, this would actually combine with silver, and this would have your solid. And these ones, the Ba and nickel, will just stay as spectator because they won't react with your acetate. So that's done. What's the next one? Is there anything that would precipitate barium out? Let's see. Oh, this one, sulfate, seems to precipitate barium. Does it precipitate nickel? It doesn't. So I can actually put sulfate into the solution. And it doesn't mess with my silver because it was soluble. So this would cause a PPT, and it will leave nickel to be a spectator. So that's done. So far, I can put your acetate, I can put sulfate, and last one, I have to precipitate nickel out. So I have to find one that will precipitate nickel, and you can see that I can use hydroxide because hydroxide is soluble for everything except for all the other ones, except for these ones. So I can put OH, hydroxide, because that will not cause, well, it would cause precipitate for silver, but by then I would actually have, precipitate all the silver out. Barium, this one is okay. This one would cause precipitate for nickel. So the reason why I can use hydroxide after is that, well, after I put acetate, I precipitated the silver out already. So now I can put hydroxide in and just precipitate the nickel. Or if I want to be sure, I can choose maybe a sulfite or carbonate because it would cause, oh, this one actually causes precipitate for all of them. So this might actually not be the best one to use. because it causes precipitate for all of these ones. So I would say like it wouldn't matter by then because you actually precipitate these ones out. But that's how you want to do these questions, is that you want to make sure that you're doing this in order. Like if I started off with carbonate, it wouldn't work because I precipitate all three of these ones out. I wouldn't even know what came out of the solution, right? So for this one, I could use hydroxide because silver is precipitated already. So I just use this, and nickel will be the last one. So that's how you use the solubility table. Hopefully this video has helped you with using the solubility table. So thanks for watching.